I trusted him completely, until I found out he had been living a double life right under my nose. Part 1. The perfect illusion. I always believed that trust was the foundation of any marriage, that once you gave your heart to someone, they would protect it with everything they had. When I met James, I felt that way. He was steady, kind, and seemed to genuinely care about building a future with me. Our life together was simple, but full of warmth. We shared a small apartment, weekend hikes, late-night talks, and dreams whispered in the dark about the family we wanted to build. For a long time, it felt like we were enough. We weren't flashy, and we weren't perfect, but we were ours. I thought that was what mattered most. But things started to change. At first, it was little things. He began coming home late, saying he had extra work. His phone, once left unlocked and forgotten on the table, now had a password. Calls were taken in another room, and texts buzzed constantly, but always out of my sight. I asked questions, but they were met with vague answers or a forced smile. I tried to ignore the nagging feeling in my chest, telling myself I was being paranoid, that James was just stressed. One rainy evening, after a long day at work, I came home early. The apartment was quiet, but James wasn't there. On the kitchen counter, his phone was blinking with a message notification. Curiosity overcame me. I reached for it, unlocking the screen with the code I had memorized from old times. The screen lit up with a string of messages from a woman I had never met. Sweet, intimate words filled the screen. Texts that were not meant for me. I felt like the floor fell out from under me. I scrolled through the conversation, reading everything. The plans to meet, the late-night confessions, the secret photos. Each word was a dagger piercing my heart deeper than I thought possible. He wasn't just cheating on me, he was living a double life. In the weeks that followed, the house became a silent battlefield. I wanted answers, confrontation, closure, but I was trapped between love and betrayal. How do you face the person you trusted with your soul when they have been lying in every moment you believed in? James acted normal, almost as if nothing had happened, but I could see through the facade. I saw the shame in his eyes and the distance that grew between us. Our conversations became forced, our touches awkward, and our dreams crumbled silently. My nights were the hardest. Alone in our bed, I replayed every memory, every smile, every promise. Was it all a lie? Was I just fooling myself for so long? I felt like a ghost in my own life, visible but unseen, loved but betrayed. I tried to hold on to the hope that we could fix this, that the man I loved could come back to me. But trust, once broken, is a fragile thing. It shatters into pieces so small you don't know how to pick them up again. This is my story of betrayal. Not a sudden explosion of anger and tears, but a quiet, slow unraveling of the life I thought I knew. It's about the pain of watching someone drift away, the silence that screams louder than words, and the courage it takes to find yourself again when everything falls apart. Part 2. The cracks widen. After that night, the apartment felt different, like a place I once called home but no longer belonged to me. Every corner echoed with memories that suddenly seemed tainted. The pictures on the walls, the shared coffee mugs, the little notes James used to leave me, all reminders of a trust now broken. I tried to keep things together for a while, pretending that life could go on as normal. But pretending is exhausting. The weight of the secret I carried crushed my chest every time I looked at James, who was becoming a stranger before my eyes. I confronted him once, trembling with fear and hope, desperate to hear the truth from his own lips. He didn't deny it. Instead, he said things I never expected, half apologies mixed with excuses, claiming he was confused, lonely, or lost. The man I thought was my rock was fragile in ways I hadn't seen, but that didn't make the betrayal hurt any less. We started sleeping in separate rooms, and the distance wasn't just physical. Our conversations stopped flowing, our shared dreams faded into silence. I saw him looking at me like I was a stranger, like the years we spent together were nothing but a fleeting moment. Friends told me to leave, to be strong, to choose myself. But how do you walk away from a life you've built piece by piece? How do you let go of someone who was once your entire world? The hardest part was the nights alone, the endless hours of staring at the ceiling, questioning everything. I wondered if I was enough, if I could have done something differently, or if this pain was just part of the cost of loving someone so deeply. One night, I found myself standing in front of the mirror, tears streaking down my face, whispering to the reflection I barely recognized, "I will survive this. I have to." That moment was the beginning of my fight, not just to save my marriage, but to save myself. It was the first step on a painful road toward healing, where I had to learn how to trust again, how to love myself again, and how to build a new life from the broken pieces left behind. Part 3. Picking up the pieces. The days after my confrontation with James passed in a blur of numbness and quiet desperation. I kept going through the motions, work, errands, small talk with neighbors, while my heart felt like it was splintering from the inside. I wanted to scream, to cry, to run away, but I was trapped in a life that no longer made sense. Friends offered support, but their well-meaning advice often felt like salt on a fresh wound. "You deserve better," they said. "You can do this on your own." And maybe they were right. But the truth was, I didn't know who I was anymore without James. Our lives were so intertwined that imagining a future alone felt impossible. I sought therapy, not because I wanted to save the marriage, but because I needed to understand myself, to find out why I stayed silent for so long, why I ignored the signs, why my love for someone who hurt me so deeply didn't simply vanish overnight. Sessions were hard. Sometimes I left feeling worse, more raw and exposed. Other times I discovered strength I didn't know I had. I learned that betrayal isn't just about the act itself. It's about losing faith in the very foundation you built your life on. James and I tried couples counseling, but the gap between us felt like an ocean. He was remorseful but distant, caught between guilt and denial. I saw how his choices tore him up too, but remorse wasn't enough to heal a fractured heart. There were moments when I almost gave up, when I thought maybe the best thing was to walk away completely. But then I'd catch a glimpse of the man I fell in love with, the dreams we once shared, and a flicker of hope sparked inside me. Rebuilding trust felt like trying to piece together shattered glass. Every step forward was fragile, every conversation a test of patience and honesty. But slowly, painfully, the silence between us began to fill with real talk, with apologies that meant more than words, with efforts to understand and forgive. I realized healing wasn't about forgetting what happened. It was about choosing to move forward despite the scars, about learning that love could survive even the deepest betrayals if both hearts were willing to fight for it. This story isn't just about betrayal. It's about survival, resilience, and the courage it takes to rebuild a life and a love that once seemed lost forever. Part 4. Reclaiming myself. As the weeks turned into months, the fragile thread holding our marriage together began to strengthen. But I knew my true work was not about saving us. It was about saving myself. I started setting boundaries, saying no when I needed to, and no longer hiding my pain behind forced smiles. The woman I saw in the mirror was bruised but not broken, and slowly she began to reemerge. I picked up old hobbies abandoned in the chaos of life, painting, running, reading books that nourished my soul. These were small acts of rebellion against the despair that once threatened to consume me. Friends noticed the change too. I was quieter but more present, less dependent on others' approval and more connected to my own needs. I stopped asking for permission to be happy. James and I continued therapy, sometimes together, sometimes apart. The road was messy. Forgiveness was neither easy nor guaranteed. But I learned that forgiveness isn't about excusing what happened. It's about freeing yourself from the prison of anger and pain. One day, standing in front of the window of our shared home, I realized something vital. I had survived the storm. Not because everything was perfect again, but because I had found strength inside that no betrayal could steal. This story is about the painful yet powerful journey from brokenness to healing, about rediscovering the self beneath the hurt, and about learning that even after the darkest nights, the dawn brings hope. Part 5. New Beginnings. The moment I decided to leave the past behind, my life began to shift in ways I never imagined. It wasn't a sudden transformation, no lightning strike of clarity, but a steady sunrise warming frozen ground. Each day I planted seeds of hope and watered them with courage. I found a new apartment, small but mine, a sanctuary where I could start fresh. I decorated it with colors that lifted my spirits and photos of moments when I'd felt truly alive. Solo trips, laughter with friends, quiet evenings with a book. Work became more than just a paycheck. It was a source of pride and independence. I threw myself into projects that challenged me, discovered talents I hadn't known I possessed, and even made plans for my own business someday. Most importantly, I learned to trust again, not blindly but cautiously, allowing myself to be vulnerable with those who proved worthy. I rebuilt friendships and opened my heart to the possibility of love. Not the love that consumed and betrayed me, but one built on honesty, respect, and mutual growth. Sometimes, memories of the betrayal still sting. Some nights loneliness creeps in, but I no longer let these moments define me. Instead, they remind me of how far I've come and the strength I carry within. This is not just a story of betrayal, it's a story of survival, growth, and the incredible power of choosing yourself. When everything falls apart, sometimes the only way forward is to build a new life from the ashes.